back, everybody, to the Based Lesbian Podcast. As always, I am your host, Cara, and with me today is my wife and lovely co-host, Lee.
What's up, motherfuckers?
And today's episode is going to be a little different. It's not going to be as political. Well, maybe it might, a little bit. But it's going to be a little bit different from previous episodes because we wanted to talk about this for a bit. And we think it's really cool. It's a pretty cool subject, so just bear with us.
We wanted to talk about what we wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
now you guys got to fucking deal with it.
Yeah. And y'all need to message me if you want us to address anything specific. So why don't you get on Instagram and follow us at based_lesbian and Twitter at based_lesbian_. We only have like 60 followers
65
on Twitter.
followers now on Twitter.
But I have over 4K on Instagram. It's
the memeing.
mostly it's my memes. That's a lie.
Your memes are top
my
tier.
memes are S tier, baby. Yeah. But anyway,
we're talking what we want to talk about, and that today is the fourth turning, bitch.
Yes, bitch. And the fourth turning, if you guys don't know, it's a theory that was created by two guys, William Strauss and Neil Howe, Howe.
Mm-hmm.
They created this back in the 90s, and it's pretty fascinating. They created a theory that considers the 4-stage cycle that repeats every 80 to 100 years, which is approximately the length of a human life, and it's also referred to as a saeculum in their books. So their books suggest 4 turnings of history that every human goes through. Every single human goes through.
In a saeculum.
In a saeculum, a human life. Number 1, the first turning is a high. So everything's good in history. Things are booming. Peace is at an all-time high. Everything's great. Number 2, second turning is an awakening. So structures start to kind of get corrupted. People start to become aware of it. The collective consciousness is starting to awaken. Third turning is the unraveling. So after an awakening, there's a little bit of a, oh fuck, things are not what they seem. This is bad. And society, life starts to unravel. And then 4, we all accumulate in a crisis. So right now in our history, in 2022, we are in a 4th turning.
And we've been in it for a while.
We've been in it for a bit. And we'll get into that here in a bit. But it's a crisis. So just think back, like, how does everyone feel right now? I feel like everyone feels like this world is fucking insane.
Ending.
Old structures are dying. Everything is so corrupt.
Neighbors hate neighbors.
Yeah, we're aware of everything going on, and it's chaotic.
Yep.
There's fear porn in the news constantly.
Yep.
There's misinformation just allowed to exist, and then people getting banned for actually telling the truth. Like, society's fucking crazy.
It's nuts right now. It's crazy.
And I feel like everyone feels that, and everyone feels like there's going to be some kind of destruction. So, like, for example, the people on the right think that the world's going to end, we're going to go into an apocalypse, new world order's coming in full force, baby, and we're all going to be in like a Matrix hellscape dystopia. The people on the left think fascism's on the rise. Climate change is going to kill us. That's a huge thing. And we're all going to die in like 10 years. Nothing matters. Fuck your gender.
Individualism
fuck your
over all else.
Yes.
That's another thing that is
Communism.
signifying of the unraveling.
Yeah. So there's both sides are feeling like we're coming to a point. We're coming to a crisis. A fork in the road. What are we going to do? So what's interesting about what these guys wrote, so Neil Howe and William Strauss wrote 2 books. So the first one they wrote was Generations, The History of America's Future from 1584 to 2069. So they went back in history and studied this pattern all the way back to 1584.
Famous individuals, patterns of history, major wars. Literally, these people looked through history, everything you could find in history since that.
It's fascinating. So they went through all of that and then used what they found in history and predicted the future. And that sounds fantastical, but hear me out. They predicted what kinds of conflicts, what kinds of struggles.
They predicted a terrorist attack on America.
Yeah.
In the 90s, guys. They literally said a 4th turning is going to be signified by like some terrorist organization happening, the stocks going up, or like the stocks going belly up, like real estate. Like they predicted a lot. We'll go into it.
They predicted a lot, and it's actually pretty crazy. And if you look back on history, you're like, oh shit, you see the patterns too. It's cool. So they wrote that first book, Generations, in 1991, y'all. They were predicting and studying through all the generations. It's pretty cool. This book's a bit thicker. It goes more into like the history about every single generation all the way back to 1584, what they signified, what they went through, who the famous individuals were, that kind of thing.
Right.
So it's pretty fascinating. And then they wrote the second book, The Fourth Turning, and that one goes more into specifically what's happening right now. They wrote that book in 1997, okay? And they predicted a lot of the shit that's happening in 2022. Yep. They predicted a pandemic.
Yes,
y'all.
that was another thing.
That was a big thing.
A global pandemic.
We'll read Lee's going to read some excerpts here in a bit about the fourth turning, but I wanted to make a little side note. So for those of you that haven't read the books, you have no idea what the fuck we're talking about. There's a really good video on YouTube with Tony Robbins and Neil Howe, who is one of the authors of this book. And they were discussing to like a small group of people about what this meant and giving people like kind of hope for the future. Because I just want to preface this with saying none of this is to make people feel overwhelmed or scared. I'm not into that fear porn shit. I hate the fact that the news is just pumps people with that constantly 24/7. So none of this is to do that.
If anything, it's to make you feel secure in the fact that this has happened many times before, and we always come out on the other end of it.
There's always going to be the calm after the storm.
Good
no
prevails
storm lasts
over
forever.
evil.
So it's fascinating. And prior to going into this whole thing, I was pretty scared about what we were going to experience in the future. Like, I have anxiety. I deal with that. And I have been worried. I'm like, man, I don't know where we're going to go. But after getting into this and reading about it and looking back on history, it's comforting. It's oddly comforting that we have always gone through this. Like, we've always had conflict. We've had massive wars, crusades, killing millions of people just because of like their religion, the color of their skin, where they lived in the world. Like, we've had a lot of conflict in history.
Conflict, yeah.
History is bloody. It is scary.
And it repeats itself.
Barbaric. But it repeats itself until we learn our fucking lessons. So I wanted to make a note about this before Lee reads this part in the fourth turning. In this book, one can consider 4 generational archetypes. So that's a fancy word for patterns of people born in the same era and coming of age that are shaped by the same historical events. So what they reference in this book, the 4 archetypes that they use to describe generational cohorts are the prophets, nomads, heroes, and artists. So, for example, in 2022, millennials, we fall into the hero archetype, while Gen Xers right now are nomads, and baby boomers are prophets. The generation born in or after 2005 are the artists, so Gen Xers. And as each archetypal generation reaches the end of its 80-year lifespan, the cycle repeats. Mm-hmm. So that's what happens in this theory that they have. So you can have generational archetypes that are born at different points, and they signify different cycles of the turnings. So, like, for example, for millennials, we came of age basically in the fourth turning. And then we will get into the first turning, second, third. Third will be near the end of our lives specifically. But Gen Xers experienced a couple turnings before us and are entering their midlife in the fourth turning, and then will become older in the high. So anyway, Lee, take it out. All right.
So, this is like the seasons of history and seasons of like
life.
People. That's the chapter that we're in right now.
In the fourth turning.
Right. But it opens up with saying, to understand the connection between these generations and history, reflect on the 4 archetypal personas and recall the roster of prominent people who share each archetype. So first we'll start off with the prophets. They're best known for their coming-of-age passion. the excited pitch of Jonathan Edwards, William Lloyd Garrison, William Jennings Bryan, and for their principled elder stewardship. So those are people like President Lincoln at Gettysburg, FDR with his fireside chats. They're increasingly indulged as children, so they become increasingly protective as parents. They saw a lot of shit. The best-known leaders for this would include people like John Winthrop, Sam Adams, Ben Franklin, James Polk, Abe Lincoln, Herbert Hoover, Franklin Roosevelt. And they were known to have been principled moralists, summoners of human sacrifice, and wagers of righteous wars. Early in life, none saw combat in uniform. Late in life, most came to be revered more for their inspiring words than for their good deeds. So, that would be the prophets. They're disappearing right now. No.
Yeah, because the prophets right now are boomers.
Yes.
So y'all hate the boomers, but the boomers were the prophet generation archetype.
Next we have the Nomads, which would be the Gen Xers. They are best known for their rising adult years of hell-raising. That's a way to put it. Another thing I want to note, a lot of people would say that, like, just the mentality of nomads as kids is just bad.
Yeah.
Like, they're just rebellious. Like, that's just a characteristic of, like, how they're seen as children. Bad. That's fucked. That's pretty sad. They're known for their midlife years of hands-on, get-it-done leadership. Underprotected as children, they become overprotective parents. Fact. Their principled endowments are in the domain of liberty, survival, and honor.
Rad.
Totally. And privacy. You see that with privacy too. Yep. But that came along with technology. Their best-known leaders include Nathaniel Bacon, William Stoughton, George Washington, John Adams, Ulysses Grant, Grover Cleveland, Harry Truman, Dwight D. Eisenhower, that badass motherfucker. So those are all nomads. They have been seen as cunning, hard-to-fool realists. Taciturn warriors.
Fact.
Yeah, taciturn warriors who prefer to meet problems and adversaries one-on-one. They include the only two presidents who had earlier hanged a man, Washington and Cleveland, one governor who hanged witches, Stoughton, and several leaders who had earlier led troops into battle, like Washington, Grant, Truman, and Eisenhower.
These are the nomads?
These are the nomads, yeah. So these are the people who, like, I'm going to get my hands dirty. We're fucking going out there. But also, these are the motherfuckers who help the heroes, too.
They'll fucking do it.
They are out, these are like the Saving Private Ryan, Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Like, Tom Hanks is that motherfucker going out.
Yeah.
All right. After that, we have the heroes. That would be our generation, baby.
Millennials.
The millennials. Whoop, whoop. Represent. We remember heroes best for their collective coming-of-age triumphs, like the Glorious Revolution, Yorktown, and D-Day. And for their hubristic elder achievements. The slave codes, Louisiana Purchase, steamboats, the Apollo moon launches, and interstate highways.
Wow.
That's crazy. Increasingly protected as children, they become increasingly indulgent as parents.
Fact.
You just got to be able to see that shit.
Yeah.
Their principled endowment activities are in the domain of community, affluence, and technology. Agree. Their best-known leaders include Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, John Kennedy, Ronnie Reagan.
Wow.
They have been vigorous and rational institution builders. All have been aggressive advocates of economic prosperity and public optimism in midlife, and have all maintained a reputation for civic energy and competence to the very ends of their lives. So they have, the people who, like, win the wars for us, they have these ideals for the rest of their lives. Like, they are not moving in their ideals for, like, economic stability, energy, like, all of the things that pretty much make life easier in a fourth turning that you just fucking grind out. They see that as, like, that got us through the fourth turning, and they they keep with that. And now we come to the artists, which would be considered anyone born after 2005. Is that what you said? The artist generation?
Yeah.
For
the
Gen
Zoomers.
Z, the Gen Zers. So Gen Zers, they're going to be the artists, and they are best known for their quiet years of rising adulthood, such as the log cabin settlers of 1800, the plains farmers of 1880, the new suburbanites of 1960 as well. And during their midlife years of flexible, consensus-building leadership, like the good government reforms of the progressive era, those were those guys, the budget and peace processes of the current era, they were overprotected as children, and then they become underprotective parents. And they're the ones who raise the next generation of prophets. So I feel like I need to add that, especially for artists if we're starting over again. Their principal endowment activities are in the domain of pluralism, expertise, and due process.
Interesting.
Yeah. So best known leaders would include Teddy Roosevelt, John Quincy Adams, Andrew Jackson, Woodrow Wilson, Colin Powell. They have been seen as sensitive and complex social technicians, advocates of fair play and the politics of inclusion. With the single exception of Andrew Jackson, they rank as the most expert and credentialed of American political leaders.
Interesting. Yeah, because Andrew Jackson was a bad motherfucker.
Fucking, yeah.
He was evil.
He fucking sucked. So there you have basically your general outline of those 4
Archetypes.
Yep.
Generational archetypes that play pivotal roles in each turning. And it's important to note, too, like, every generation experiences their turnings differently. Like, so, and also, the archetypes are not, like, all perfect people. Like,
no.
These terms sound like they're really great, but, like, there's bad prophets. There's bad heroes.
But I feel like you will also see these traits in those people,
of
too.
course,
like,
it's
very interesting. Once you kind of know this information, you can't really unknow it.
It's
and
pretty
you kind
cool.
of you fucking see it everywhere.
Yeah.
I also just want to add a really cool thing I highlighted in here, which was basically, as generations age, they together form new archetypal constellations that alter every aspect of society, from government and the economy to culture and family life.
Yes.
Archetypal constellations. I really liked that.
That's exactly what we're seeing right now, because
Yes.
it's like the millennials are fucking kids up with their radical compassion and just allowing them to just have unfettered access to unfettered access to the internet.
And don't take anything for granted.
No, granted. But, like, the millennials are fucking shit up, and the Gen Xers fucked millennials up. I'm sorry, but they did. They fucked a lot.
Y'all
of
were the
millennials
motherfuckers
up.
who did Woodstock 99, guys. You got to take a little accountability.
Well, and they had boomers for parents. The boomers were fucking crazy and fucking so strict. And then the boomers had the silent generation, which also sucked. So every generation's fucked up the next. When I mean fucked up, I mean it's the butterfly effect. Like, every generation affected the next.
We keep repeating these patterns.
Yep.
We need to stop.
Can we learn our lesson already?
I know,
Goddamn.
right? I know.
Shit.
So, for real, like, we just need to remember our past lives. I feel like that's the fucking problem.
God
Edgar
damn.
Casey, where are you at, bro? Anyway.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, if you know, you know. There was something I want to bring up. The 4th turning, I know you mentioned already, it is labeled as a crisis. It's normally always a crisis.
Yes.
In history. And for the 4th turning, just so people kind of get an idea where each generational archetype is for a 4th turning, old artists disappear.
So artists, remember, are the politicians.
They
the
are the
leaders.
established and credentialed political leaders of society.
And how old is everyone in our fucking Congress? How old is everyone in the presidency?
Ancient.
Bidens, Pelosi's, the Rockefellers, the fucking elite establishment, shadow government. Anyway, continue.
The globalists.
The globalists.
Well, that's what they call them now. We knew them as the Illuminati.
Yes.
Globalists is a buzzword now. Old artists disappear. Prophets enter elderhood.
Boomers.
Nomads enter midlife.
Gen X.
That was Gen X. Heroes enter young adulthood. That's us. And a new generation of artists is born. So
Zoomers.
the future credential. The future, I can't get over the artists, dude. I think that's fucking nuts. The future leaders of our generations are being born, like, right now.
The Zoomers. They are.
The Zoomers.
Those are the ones that are going to shape our generation, y'all.
Well, they're the ones who are going to put back the pieces of the fourth turning. So we're going to be the ones, essentially, from what this book is saying. The millennials are going to be the hero generation. They're going to be the ones who are out there fighting, like, the D-Day equivalent. Yeah. We're going to be in the trenches. And the artists, they're going to look at everything after the war, after whatever happens, and they're going to be like, well, we got to go somewhere. Yep. We got to do something. We need to make something out of this.
Yep.
It's just crazy. But also in relation to the turnings, I know we said it was awakening, crisis. Oh, it starts with a high, and then an awakening, and then an unraveling, and then a crisis. I liked a passage in the book that relates these almost to like solstices and like seasons. Awakenings and crises are the saecular solstices, summer and winter, each a solution to a challenge posed by the other. Highs and unravelings are the saecular equinoxes, spring and autumn, each coursing a path directionally opposed to each other. That's very interesting.
The yin and the yang, man.
It really is. No, it's the yin and the yang, and it's seriously the seasons of life.
It is the seasons of life. We're coming into winter. Winter is coming. That's what we are right now in the fourth turning, because we're at like the fucking winter solstice.
Yeah. And it even says here, a high or unraveling announces itself as a sudden consolidation of the new direction. A high begins when society perceives that the basic issues of the prior crisis have been resolved, leaving a new civic regime firmly in place.
Regime, keyword.
Regime.
Interesting.
So, a high or unraveling. An unraveling. So that's what we went through before this fourth turning, right? It's interesting. So, and when a society moves into an awakening or crisis, the new mood announces itself as a sudden turn in social direction. An awakening begins when events trigger a revolution in the culture. A crisis when events trigger an upheaval in public life.
Sound familiar, y'all? Doesn't that feel like what we're in right now?
Yeah.
Doesn't that feel like it?
Yeah.
It's crazy. This book is really, really good. We do recommend getting these. We got them on Amazon after we watched...
So cheap.
After we watched the Tony Robbins and Neil Howe video on YouTube, we were like, okay, gotta get these books.
Gotta get this immediately.
And
I need to get
they're really, really, really interesting.
They're
if
just
you
enriching.
Like this kind of stuff.
They're so enriching. I'm like, I don't read history. You know what I mean? Like, at first, everyone should.
Yeah.
I don't read it normally.
No.
And it's just so... He describes it so interesting because it affects all of us. It makes it affect all of us. And us collectively. I like that he says here, the four turnings comprise of a social cycle of growth, maturity, entropy, and death. In parentheses, he says rebirth.
Rebirth, yep.
So don't y'all want a rebirth right now?
Seriously, aren't you tired of this bullshit? Like, that's what we're in right now. Like, we are tired of the same fucking shit. We're tired of the same career politicians not doing shit for us, using our tax money to spend it on their fucking private yachts and their Epstein Islands. We're fucking tired.
So blatantly. So
obviously.
Where the fuck is the fucking pedo list
with their
for Ghislaine Maxwell?
They created the war on drugs and put fucking black people in jail just because they didn't
slave
like the
labor,
fact that they
honestly,
were free.
fucking labor.
Yeah. Like,
bitch.
come on, dude. Like, you look at history objectively and you're like, man, we're in that generation. We're fucking tired of it. And it's millennials that are going to be
the hero generation.
Fighting.
Well, because we're angst up right now. We're fucking mad, and we're young enough to express the anger and to go out and fight. That's why we fought on D-Day.
Yep.
That's just how it happened. That's just how it
the
goes.
hero archetype fought on D-Day. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. In World War II. Like, so it's just interesting. And we've talked about this before, Lee and I, and we've had some weird predictions come up with this whole fourth turning. Like, I don't know what our conflict is going to be. Like, in the video with Tony Robbins, Neil Howe references 2008 as like a catalyst for the fourth turning and how it's our economic crisis. Like, he talks about how they predicted it a little bit earlier, like the fourth turning to become a little bit earlier in their book that they wrote in 1997.
Which was accurate.
But they've they think that the fourth turning might last a little bit longer. Because we've had such a upheaval of things.
There's a dilation in the turnings.
Yeah.
We're finding.
Yeah. That some turnings last longer than others.
Yes. It's interesting.
Interesting.
I want to end with like all of the predictions and the crazy shit that they were talking about with the fourth turning, but I also want to kind of go into the turnings individually, because I feel like that's needed in order to understand like the fourth turning, like kind of like what you can understand what happened in like first turnings, second turnings, third, stuff like that. So just to go into the turnings a little bit, we'll start with the first turning. So a high brings a renaissance to community life. With the new civic order in place, people want to put the crisis behind them and feel content about what they have collectively achieved. You can see that also. I like an example of that is like when people won World War II, you came into World War II, for example, with a lot of like Indian Americans, African Americans, Italian Americans, Polish Americans. People identified themselves that way a lot of the time before World War II, but we came out of World War II and that shit fucking didn't matter.
No.
We were just American.
Yeah.
None of it mattered from that point. And community was unreal. So the need for dutiful sacrifice has ebbed, yet the society continues to demand order and consensus. So I think that's why that leads into that other generation. What is it? Nomad generation.
Yeah.
They are overprotected. That can lead into that. So that's interesting. First generation, or the first turning is like people are really loving their civic life, but spirit seems dead. That's also something interesting he mentions. Eventually, civic life seems fully under control, but distressingly spirit dead. People worry that, as a society, they can do everything, but no longer feel anything.
Because they don't have a sense of purpose. Because the whole sense of purpose was
Fighting
culminating in the crisis.
In the fourth turning, right? We've already achieved it. Now we'll get into the second turning. An awakening arrives with a dramatic challenge against the high's assumptions about benevolent reason and congenial institutions. The outer world now feels trivial compared to the inner world. New spiritual agendas and social ideas burst forth, along with utopian experiments seeking to reconcile total fellowship with total autonomy. The prosperity and security of a high are overtly disdained, though covertly taken for granted.
So is that like the 60s and stuff?
It sounds like the 60s. I feel like that sounds like the 60s,
the
right? The hippies, and then hating Vietnam.
Yeah, hating the establishment.
Covertly not understanding that those were the motherfuckers that got us through D-Day.
Right.
So, and they're rebelling. Youth-fired attacks break out against the established institutional order. As these attacks take their toll, society has difficulty coalescing around common goals. Interesting. So that's what's happening in the awakening.
The second turning.
We're kind of realizing we want more focus on the individual.
Yeah.
Spirituality.
Yeah.
Internal. The third turning, an unraveling, begins as a society-wide embrace of the liberating cultural forces set loose by the awakening. People have had their fill of spiritual birth, moral protest, and lifestyle experimentation. Content with what they have become individually, they vigorously assert an ethos of pragmatism, self-reliance, laissez-faire, and national or sectional or ethnic chauvinism.
Interesting.
I feel like there's a lot to unpack there.
There is a lot to unpack there.
Because we were born, right? Like right at the end of
the third
turning.
Yikes.
Cold War.
Yeah.
Cold War. Shit.
Cold War. Nukes.
Vigorously trying to put the
ozone layer, all the shit.
Fuck.
And then the birth of the internet.
Fuck. Dude.
Yeah.
And, oh my God. And then you just like, as soon as the internet came about, it was like, there's nothing wrong with the internet.
No.
It's like, oh, the internet is great. And that was another rigorous thing that was about, that was like vehemently put on people.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yikes.
While personal satisfaction is high, public trust ebbs amid a fragmenting culture, harsh debates over value, and weakening civic habits. Pleasure-seeking lifestyles coexist with a declining public tolerance for aberrant personal behavior.
Wow.
The sense of guilt, parentheses, which rewards principle and individuality, reaches its zenith. Gender differences attain their narrowest point. Families stabilize and new protections are provided for children. As moral debates brew, the big public arguments are over ends, not means. Public action becomes very difficult as community problems are deferred. Wars are fought with moral fervor, but without consensus or follow-through.
Wow.
That's still just the third turning. That's
He wrote
crazy.
this in 1997.
97! That's a big deal, y'all. I don't know if you fucking think that, but I will tell you objectively
I
that's
think
a big
that's
deal.
crazy.
I
That's
have
crazy.
goosebumps from reading that. That's fucking nuts. Just from looking back into the 1500s until today. Anyway, I can't believe that. That's just insane. A crisis, now we're going into the fourth turning. A crisis arises in response to sudden threats that previously would have been ignored or deferred, but which are now perceived as dire. Great worldly perils boil off the clutter and complexity of life, leaving behind one simple imperative. The society must prevail. This requires a solid public consensus, aggressive institutions, and personal sacrifice. War.
That's what we're going through right now, y'all. That's literally what we're going through right now.
Yes. And also, you see, just to relate it to just off the cuff gender shit. Like, people, we're not laying down for that shit anymore. People are making this a hill to die on.
Yeah.
And it's becoming that very quickly.
Very quickly.
Very quickly. And also, externally, Russia, that motherfucker's insane.
Yeah, y'all know Putin has cancer, right?
He has cancer. He's insane.
He has, like, nothing to lose.
He's former KGB.
But also, I mean, there's shit going on with, like, how we're just laundering money to Ukraine. So, like, is it really that? Or is it just financial wars? Because that's what our governments are doing. North Korea has facilities that make meth that they distribute to the cartel,
Random fact,
Did y'all know
guys.
that?
They
Like-
fucking have meth factories.
I learned that last
They
night.
give their workers meth
As payment.
as payment. Theo Vaughn
To
said it perfectly. Should have given them boxing gloves. And then they distribute the meth to the Philippines, and then the Philippines takes it everywhere.
I know we're sounding crazy, but, like, this is, like...
Look it up. I had to look it up because I thought Bobby Lee was full of shit, and he's not. It's
No.
literally like there was a fucking spy in a meth lab, and it's it's crazy. This world is
This
fucking
world's
going
fucking
to shit.
insane,
It's going
dude.
to shit.
We're gonna hit a crisis.
Oh, we are barreling headfirst towards
Yeah.
a crisis, I feel like.
We are.
People support new efforts to wield... Oh my God. People support new efforts to wield public authority whose perceived successes soon justify more of the same. Government governs, community obstacles are removed, and laws and customs that resisted change for decades are swiftly shunted aside. A grim preoccupation with civic peril causes spiritual curiosity to decline. So I think you'll see that a lot with the like millennials who are really trying to cling on to this spirituality, and all of us on the fucking right side of this are like, fuck you thinking it's moral to let a kid get fucking like
Right.
injected with hormones. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, no, that's not, I'm not giving into that fake spirituality bullshit.
Not giving into that destruction of good values and tradition. And
My
morals.
5-year-old is an individual. They know what they want.
Fuck you and your pedophilic bullshit.
Fuck that.
Off my fucking over my dead body. My God.
For real.
Leave the kids alone.
This is what I'm
Leave
saying.
the kids
too.
alone.
Like this is like this is signifying a crisis too. Like, look at how into this we're getting. Like, look at how activated so many people are getting just by something like that.
Yeah.
What happens when it's like Russia bombs Ukraine
I mean, they already did.
with nukes?
Oh, yeah.
We all know. I mean, when we say bomb with relation to Russia, we're talking about, nukes.
Perfect segue into crises and what we think it's going to be in this time and age. Neil Howe and William Strauss predicted it in their book, The Fourth Turning. Yep. And they predicted a series of scenarios it could be of what our crisis could be.
I've got a couple of prophecies here that they tried to predict. The first one, they named a couple here, right, in the book that I'm looking at. I checked off 3 out of 5 that we have experienced. So the first one, a global terrorist group blows up an aircraft and announces it possesses portable nuclear weapons. The United States and its allies launch a preemptive strike. The terrorists threaten to retaliate against an American city. Congress declares war and authorizes unlimited house-to-house searches. Opponents charge that the president concocted the emergency for political purposes. A nationwide strike is declared. Foreign capital flees the U.S.
9/11.
Woo! So that's something.
The war on terror.
And you don't even need to look at it like, they didn't do house-to-house searches. What the fuck is Guantanamo Bay? Like, can you
they
admit?
Were killing Afghani citizens just left and fucking
just
right.
Gunning him down,
just
guys. And like,
down.
Guantanamo Bay is fucked. Like, you just take a dude off the streets and just put him there for years. Waterboard him. No due process. Whatever. It's protecting us. All right. The second one. I'm going to get a kick out of this. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention announce the spread of a new communicable virus. This disease reaches densely populated areas, killing some. Congress enacts mandatory quarantine measures. The president orders the National Guard to throw prophylactic cordons around unsafe neighborhoods. I don't know what a cordon is. Cordon? Mayors resist. Urban gangs battle suburban militias. Calls mount for the president to declare martial law.
COVID. How many people
we had all of that except for the martial law.
But the fucking QAnon people and all the MAGA people wanted fucking martial law. They wanted Trump to declare martial law after the fucking election.
That's true.
Because they're one and true president.
You
like
guys
the
are
QAnon
crazy.
people were like that.
Fuck you guys.
The QAnon people. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Martial law is fucked.
No, I know. Like,
fuck,
it doesn't
what the
matter
fuck are you talking about?
What guy is in there. Like, you want martial law over your people? That's fucking crazy.
So stupid.
But it's coming from Trump, though. He's gonna make it secure.
On the opposite side, though, the leftists were pushing for martial law of their own with regards to health regimes and the mandates.
Yeah. Totally.
And forcing everyone to get vaccinated, forcing everyone to fucking wear masks,
right.
Stay inside, not go anywhere, not see their loved ones while
when
they were
they're
dying in the hospital.
Dying, your fucking granddad?
My granddad and my grandma both died, and we couldn't see them because of Oregon's laws that you couldn't visit anybody in nursing facilities and in the hospital. So both sides were advocating for, and I'm saying the extremist sects on both sides were advocating for some form of martial law and regime power.
Fuck you, motherfuckers. I'm not down for that shit. So that's one. That's another thing that happened. So check mark that one. Okay, we're two for 5. Growing anarchy. This is the third one. Growing anarchy throughout the former Soviet republics prompts Russia to conduct training exercises around its borders. Lithuania erupts in civil war. Negotiations break down. U.S. diplomats are captured and publicly taunted. The president airlifts troops to rescue them and orders ships into the Black Sea. Iran declares its alliance with Russia. Gold and oil prices soar. Congress debates restoring the draft.
Mm-hmm.
That's scary because that's coming up. Okay. And then I just want to say this last part. It's highly unlikely that any one of these scenarios will actually happen. What is likely, however, is that the catalyst will unfold according to the basic crisis dynamic.
Yike-a-rooney.
So they didn't even think that any of this shit would happen when they wrote it in 97.
And it did.
3 of it did.
Not the Lithuania stuff.
Well, but fucking Russia.
Yeah.
Russia trying. It didn't need to be. It didn't need to be Lithuania, and we're not at the end of that. Maybe that's the.
I don't know. We don't know what's gonna happen, man. But all of this is to say these motherfuckers back in 1997 wrote a fucking book and predicted all of this shit.
By looking at history.
Just looking at history, y'all.
What can you learn from history? What can you learn from a bunch of dead people?
Everything.
Get fucked.
Well, I saw this meme once that was like, oh, look at convenient in history. The good guys have won every time. And I'm like, do you really think that all of history has been made up? Like, do you think all of history has been made up?
The good guys won every time.
The good guys have not won every time either.
China exists today, still communist. Do you think that's the good guys?
Yeah.
The good guys win every time, Mao.
Maybe that meme wasn't meant to be literal about the good guys. Maybe it's just that our governments and the people in power want us to think that these entities are good, but they're really not. I mean, we've been told that, like, Reagan was one of the best presidents ever, and he's not. Like, he's not. He was a bad dude.
Well, he was a big guy. He was a big proponent of the war on drugs, right?
He was the one that, like, enforced it.
No,
because
fuck
Nixon
that.
started it,
Fuck
and then
that.
he enforced it.
Don't like it. I liked how ready he was to nuke people. Like,
Yeah,
people
with
didn't,
Russia
and that's why I think people like Ronald Reagan a lot, because he
cojones.
didn't, no one fucked with Ronnie Reagan, but also including the black people who just had like a joint.
And then they got mandatory minimums and fucking got put in prison for
Not down.
40 years.
Not down for that.
Fucked up. But I don't know, man. It's interesting because both sides are wanting a conflict and are perpetuating a conflict.
Manufacturing a conflict.
There's going to be a conflict.
Yes.
I mean, we're already experiencing a lot of the conflicts. We had 2008.
Yep.
We had COVID. We have this war. Like, things are... we have a dementia patient as a president. Like,
guys,
shit's fucking insane right now. And the government doesn't even care. Like, they don't even care.
No, they think we're stupid.
They don't care that we think it's stupid. They're just doing their shit, doing their insider trading, not giving
going
a
to their
single
pedo
fuck.
island.
Yeah.
God.
Deliberately, like, scrubbing information off the internet and paying the news organizations to funnel our news out from the White House as propaganda to
But then you're fucking
divide people.
But then it's a trigger word to say fucking propaganda.
Look at you touting about propaganda. What the fuck are you even talking about? You don't know what propaganda is.
You don't know what propaganda is in the modern age. Excuse me?
All of this is propaganda,
You
y'all.
think propaganda would be fucking out there? Propaganda is supposed to be covert.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to realize you're fucking a victim to propaganda.
Being brainwashed. Like, you're literally
Dingus.
being brainwashed. That's the whole fucking point of propaganda. So it's like, and it's happening on both sides. Like, that's what drives me nuts about some of these polarized accounts and stuff
Just getting
online.
into
It's
it.
like, y'all don't realize you're one and the same. I'm
Oh my
sorry.
God.
You're far left. You're the exact same as
the
a
far
MAGA
right.
fucking far right Republican. I'm
It's
sorry.
the QAnon. You're the same, guys.
You're the same. You're the fucking same. All of us in the middle that kind of lean a little bit one way or the other, we're just sane people. We're just looking at both y'all like, y'all are fucking
Y'all are
loony
emotionally
bins.
charged babies.
You're literally creating a civil war. You both are creating a civil war.
God.
That's the point. And that's what we might end up going into.
might-
I mean, the Civil
Yes.
War was the bloodiest, most violent fucking conflict in American history.
Well, and a fourth turning, it's always like it's always either an internal war, an external war, or a combination of both of them.
And the fourth turning, like, the Civil War was a fourth turning. by the way.
The American Revolution was a fourth turning.
Yes. So they all had different outcomes,
Yes.
but they were different levels of magnitude, right?
Yes.
Like, Civil War was internal. Slaves,
Yep.
the abolitionists versus the slaveholders. Fucking the American Revolution, that was countries against each other.
Yes.
Y'all.
Yes.
That was monarchy and a new baby country,
And
barely not even...
with loyalists.
Yeah.
And that's why it was internal and external. So we were fighting the loyalists who were still in America, who were the fucking, I don't know if they were the red or blue coats. I can't remember that far. But they were the bad folks. And then I wonder what's going to happen this time. It feels like I think our country's young, and I think it means something that, like, we are split right down the middle.
Down the middle.
Like, morally and philosophically, it feels like split right down the middle. Right and left, I feel like, have never been more polarized.
Yeah.
And never been more divisive, antagonistic, hateful. Like,
Yeah.
I don't see how it can't somehow be maybe partially a civil war, partially an external thing. I don't know what Russia's going to do, but
I feel like we're kind of already in like a civil war because, I mean, I feel like war has evolved a little bit
yeah.
in our time. Like
People are calling like Ron DeSatan. Like people are Ron DeSatan for DeSantis.
Well, they
it's
call
like
Trump a Nazi and a fascist. And it's like, are you dumb?
No, they're othering them.
Yeah.
They're othering them because then it's the same. You know what's interesting? That's the same thing Hitler did with black people and Jews. Because you know what he did? He put out posters, which back then it wasn't obvious propaganda because you were living back then. People saw posters of just black people compared to cockroaches and bugs. Jews compared to pests.
It's like Jordan Peterson says he studied like all of the Nazi regime and Nazi Germany and everything. And he says like, you guys think you wouldn't be on the side of the Nazis? You're wrong.
90% of you would.
Yeah. So like, just take that into context to right now. Like,
yes.
We don't know. And I feel like a lot of people feel like they're doing the right thing. I feel like they're doing the right thing. But one side's going to come over the other. And I mean, it can be good or bad either way, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're not saying like, if the left gets control, then the world's going to end. If MAGA gets control, then we're going to be in a fascist dictatorship. Like, we're not saying that. Like,
no.
I don't fucking know what's going to happen. I'm not smart enough to predict the future. I just know that if we're going to have some kind of conflict.
If you were going to predict it, though, let's go. What do you think? What do you think? Just rattle it off. What the fuck do you think is going to happen, baby?
I feel like the left are the Nazis for sure. I do actually think that because
the far left. Can we re-clarify by saying the far left? I like real classic liberals, and they do exist.
They're not even part of the left, though. But, I mean, they're on our side. But I digress. I think that the far left is totally like the wannabe Nazis. I think they want control. I think they want government involvement in their lives because I think they truly believe that if we have government control over things like healthcare and abortion and taxes and employment and all this stuff, that we'll have a better, a better functioning society.
Realistically, that has never happened.
And if people can feel all equal, regardless of like your status in the world, like if everyone is equitable, is it equitable?
No, equality of outcome.
So if everyone has the same outcome,
yes, we must be equal.
We'll be equal, and society will persevere. Now, I personally don't believe in that. I feel like
it's about equal opportunity, not equal
opportunity.
outcome.
I feel like people need to be in charge of their own destiny, and I don't want entities in charge of my destiny and my life. That's my opinion about that.
That's just a purely conservative view.
However, though, I think that the far right, the QAnon people, want something similar because I think on the far right, they would probably trend towards like everyone has to think the same. Like, and you have to be straight, narrow-edged, believe in God, believe in MAGA, all this stuff, in order to live and survive in the society.
Right.
And, like, there's no middle ground with either one. I feel like there's more
and
opportunity.
You've got, like, the QAnonis are, like, tend to be the homophobia guys.
They're the homophobies, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want that. I think we're somewhere in the middle, but I think that more people need to be pushing back on the insanity on both sides and like stop.
We need to come back in the middle.
Yeah, like stop dividing. Yeah. Like just fucking look at everything as a gray area.
There really, can you even conceive? There used to actually be a time where debates would happen, where actual civil conversations and debates happened between politicians on the left and the right.
Yeah,
that used to happen.
Yeah, concept. And disagreement was okay.
Yeah.
We could agree to disagree. So it's like, I feel like...
And like we could learn something from each other. That's the thing. We've completely blown that out the window. We can't learn anything from each other anymore. It's just, you're my enemy.
Yeah.
That's awful. That's dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
It's changed from like, I wish I could learn something from AOC.
Well, and like, what we need to be doing, I feel like everyone's collective consciousness is like, I'm sick of the old ways. I want things to go back to a time of stability and peace where everyone was like benefiting from it and we were okay. The truth of the matter is that like history has never been that easy. Like, during our peacetime, there was still inequality. There was still injustice. So it's like...
You always have to iron out the kinks.
That's why we're still doing it. There's no such thing as this, like, utopian ideal that, like, in
Listen
10
up,
years,
communists.
in 10 years, we're just going to be all hunky-dory and everything's going to be fine. Like, human nature is easily corrupted. And especially when you have large amounts of power. That's why, like, socialism is idealistic, because it's it's utopian to think that a small number of government entity will have all the power and not do anything wrong with it. I'm sorry, but like, that's silly to think.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Absolutely. So we're still going to have issues in society after this crisis.
What do you think's going to happen, though? I know you mentioned you think the left are the actual Nazis, the far left, but like, what do you think?
I think the election in 2024 is going to be huge. I think it's going to be bigger than Trump.
You think it's going to be bigger than like Biden versus Trump?
Yeah, because I feel like with Biden versus Trump, there were two ways. I feel like if Trump won and became president again, I feel like society would have imploded. Like, totally, like, there would have been outrages everywhere, because the amount of Trump hate that was going on during that time was pretty insane. They're still riding the Trump train. They're still putting it in the
can't
news.
Get Trump's
it's so
dick out their
stupid.
mouths, dude.
It's literally just to create chaos and anger and hatred and fear. And all
madness. It's just so madness.
I feel like with Biden becoming president in 2020, I feel like it delayed that conflict a few years, because now more people are seeing how inept and demented Biden is, and how ridiculously corrupt and stupid their whole administration is, and the entirety of government in general. So more people are waking up under Biden.
Well, how can you not?
However, 2024, okay, like, I don't think I don't think Biden and Trump are gonna run again. I feel like if they do, that would be more comical than anything, because it's just gonna be two senile old motherfuckers running and just spouting, babbling, and being ridiculous. But you know who I think it is gonna be? It's gonna be AOC.
Yep, she's gonna be 35,
and it's gonna be fucking DeSantis. Mark my fucking words. I think it's gonna
me,
be those
dude.
two. And if it's not gonna be like AOC, it's gonna be another like woman or something. It's gonna be somebody. And I feel like the division that's going to cause is insane. But I feel like they're working it up to be AOC and DeSantis, because everyone hates DeSantis.
I called that, dude. I called that like 3 years ago. I remember we talked about that. I literally was like, because I watched like a Steven Crowder video back then, and he was like, you know who is going to be 35 at fucking 24? And I was like, no, please tell me this is true. Please tell me the head popper from The Boys is not going to be elected. No.
That's a good show on Amazon, actually. I know Amazon. I was going off on a rant about Lord of the Rings, Amazon, and it's so fucking bad. But The Boys is actually pretty good.
Listen, and you can look past the woke parts.
It's not that bad. It's not too much woke stuff. They're actually playing on both sides of the coin. So it's not like purely woke. But they go after the Republicans, but they also go after the left too. It's pretty cool.
So you think it's going to be crazy divisive in 2024. Yeah. Who do you think is going to come out winning, red or blue?
DeSantis, I think.
You think blue?
Red? I would think so, unless unless something goes on at 4 a.m. again.
Well, they're trying to ruin his reputation right now with all the Martha's Vineyard shit.
But I don't think people are really like falling for it, because I feel like
he's trending on Twitter right now.
Yeah.
Through like 400,000 tweets.
But remember, half of Twitter is bots anyway, so it's like,
true.
It's just minions.
True. But it's in the public opinion. That's what I'm trying to say though. Like
they're playing it out to make him the new Trump.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the whole point. They need another crazy personality. Crazy personality, because Trump was such a fucking kook. He was so crazy.
He was kooky, dude. He was
tweeting mean fucking tweets. Like, that was so funny.
But like, weren't you all entertained?
It was hilarious.
Are you not entertained?
Do you give a shit about anything Biden has to say? No. The answer is no. Nobody cares.
He's brain dead, dude.
Lowest approval rating of all
Any
presidencies.
Any president. Yikes. And Kamala Harris, she's got the lowest approval rating of any VP.
Bitch.
Fuck that bitch selling Kamala fucking cookies to
listen,
people. Fuck you.
What a disgrace to being the first female vice president.
Oh my
Honestly,
God.
I'm not proud of her.
Incompetent hoe, dude.
I'm not proud of her. She's terrible. I feel like she's slimy. She slept her way to the top. I'm sorry.
I would have said
over it.
I would have honestly. I mean, they've got the worst women doing this shit right now, running for it. I'm like,
AOC's fucking nuts,
dude. Okay,
she's like the next Hitler.
She totally has the potential to be. I am not even lying about that.
And that's what I worry about with this election, because I feel like the whole diversity thing might be a huge player, because if she ran as president, like, because listen,
never ending.
This is the key right here. In 2020, we didn't have female runners at all, really. It was Trump, who would have had Pence again. Woo, who cares? 2 old white men. Then we had Biden, and he picks a black woman.
Yeah.
But they can't put a woman as president yet.
Yeah.
Because
they're working up to it.
We haven't had that yet. And then we have fucking AOC.
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Yes. I think, honestly, I think all of this has been working up to it. I think Biden is so decrepit and so usable.
Yeah.
That they are doing everything they can right now to play identity politics. And they honestly would set AOC up fucking perfectly.
That's what I worry
They
about.
would set her up. She would be the most perfect mouthpiece for the left, for a president.
It's either she becomes president, but then we have like Republican Congress again. Like
we will secede. I think the red states would secede.
I think so too. I think because especially if she was doing crazy fucking shit, like
abortion everywhere. Oh my God, it'd be insane. It'd be insane. Abortion everywhere. Fucking everything is legalized.
That might be a crisis that we go into, of just like total fucking destruction of all morals. I mean, we're already seeing that right now, but like think about it as at a government level and everything. And there's like mandatories, like forcing churches to perform abortions and like
like crazy
fucking shit,
crazy bullshit. Right?
And we don't wish for that. I'm just saying, like,
we're making predictions, yo. AOC could be fucking insane.
We could have a pretty insane conflict, and I feel like we are, because the internet has riled a lot of people up. But then on the other side of the thing, to play the devil's advocate, we're also really apathetic.
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah, you guys can. We'll feign empathy for days.
We don't
empathy and sympathy, but then you turn apathetic the second someone doesn't share your view.
The other thing is climate change. Like that could be a big crisis point, and it in the sense of
they make a big deal out of it,
having countries and world powers like come together and like force people into like climate lockdowns and
you'd have to manufacture that though. You'd have to create your own climate crises so that people take it seriously.
Well, I mean, chemtrails and stuff, and they released COVID from a lab.
True.
That's a conspiracy. I mean, the chemtrails.
It's not a conspiracy.
That
came out.
Chemtrails is kind of a conspiracy thing.
Well, yeah, but the COVID released from a lab has been fucking.
I feel like they have a lot of power. I mean, MK Ultra, dude. Like they were doing that for like 12 years in the 70s.
Can we
drugging people?
Can we talk about how the government has really had it out to fucking fuck with its citizens for forever?
They've been doing it forever.
MK Ultra existed, and we know about that. What do we not know about now, guys?
There's CIA agents in like over 120 countries.
128 countries CIA agents are active.
USA CIA agents. What are we doing?
What's
what are
everyone
we
else doing?
And why did they keep
What's China doing?
Why did they keep shit a secret for us? Like, why is Area 51 still like on lockdown?
You know what because I mean? They've got reverse engineered alien technology
and
in there.
Clones and stuff.
Prove me wrong. You can't.
This is why the secret, like keeping everything a secret and keeping everything hidden from public eye, just breeds conspiracy.
Absolutely. Do you know how
breeds groups like QAnon?
Do you know how fucking badass it would have been if the government was like, this alien just showed up in Roswell one day?
Well, they did release that they think UFOs are real and they're like an actual phenomenon and stuff.
Whatever, that they've known about for years,
nobody
for
cares.
decades.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit because, oh my God, that's such a good point. You're right about that. Okay, so you think political divide. So do you think like the fourth turning would be like, it sounds like from what you're saying to me, it's going to be like a civil war, like secession. Like we're like, if AOC gets elected.
It's going to be either like a Civil War type thing, or it's going to be like a V for Vendetta thing, where we're like all rising up
Badass.
towards the government and pushing
Remember
back on it.
Remember the
Like,
4th of November.
And I kind of want it to be that.
We all do.
I want it to be like a V for Vendetta or like a Snowpiercer type thing.
I want to be Natalie Portman.
I want to do that, you know? I want all of us to fucking come together, stop fighting our stupid fucking culture wars, because like that's what they want, dude.
None of it
they
matters.
want us divided
They
so that
want
way
you
they
to
can
see-
do their shit.
They want you to see a black person versus a white person when you should just be seeing a person.
And gender and like all this
None
stupid
of it
fucking
matters.
crap. You know what matters? What the government's doing to children across the world. Like sex trafficking.
And
Drug
drugs.
trafficking.
Oh.
Money
okay.
laundering.
All right.
You know what I mean?
All right.
So that's what I feel like. I feel like it's going to be one of those two scenarios. I feel like we already did a civil war. So like...
Like in our heads?
No, we already did a
like,
civil war in America. You know
We're
what
a
I mean?
young country.
Yeah, but...
That's happened many times across many countries.
It's so boring. I'm just like...
I'm bored.
I just am bored. I want a different show.
Get it over with.
I'm done with the simulation. That's another thing. We're in a simulation. We're in a like a bad
Fourth,
game of the
fourth
Sims.
turning, we wake up from the sim.
Yeah.
From the simulation.
Maybe the fourth turning is we're waking up in the Matrix and
Like we wake up as pod people
like
with
who
the
is
fucking
Neo? Who's the Neo of our time, our simulation?
Jesus was the Neo.
Word.
Tell me I'm wrong.
You're not wrong.
Jesus was a Neo. We need another Neo. Well, that's all I'm saying. Man.
We're a little crazy, I know, but
We're not crazy at all. These are just what everyone's thinking, and we've had a doobie, and we've got confidence to say it now.
doobie.
Sorry. All right. What do I think is going to happen? I really am not liking what Russia's doing, or China. I think, or North Korea. Honestly, I think things are also ramping up in a style that is really empathetic towards socialism and communism, and is really ignoring and being taught like it's not bad, or like it's worked before.
That's true.
That's honestly the big prevalent thing in my brain. I feel like either Putin is just gonna fucking be on his way out and he's gonna bomb Kiev, like nuke Kiev or nuke something.
But the Russians are like leaving, like they're fleeing.
No, they're
from
not.
Ukraine. Yeah, the Russians are.
Well, they're no. So
Like
here's
their
the thing.
army and stuff.
Yeah, because they don't have resources, but they're
Yeah.
also brainwashed. They think they're literally fighting Nazis in Ukraine. Russian military literally think they're fighting Nazis. That's the propaganda that's going on in Russia right now. So I think Putin's got a really hard hold on that. He's got a really hard hold on the citizens. And even if you look at their hero generation, the millennials in Russia, they are very diehard Putin. They are very diehard government. They are being prepared like they need to fight a D-Day. That's all I'm saying. I've seen interviews of like the older generations who are in Russia who are like, what do you think about the war in Ukraine? What do you think, is Russia doing the right thing? All of the older generations in Russia are saying, this is bad. Like, this is not good. Like, Ukraine deserves their independence. They deserve to do their own fucking thing. Like, we don't want this. And our resources are going to that, and we don't like it. Every, like, younger person who was, like, probably 19 to 25 that was interviewed for that was like, no, the government knows what it's doing. I love Russia. Like, they literally used terms like, I love my government. Putin knows what he's doing. He's our leader. He's leading us in the right direction.
Well, it's kind of like China, too. Like, China's the same way.
Except at least in China, they had riots. At least in Hong Kong, they fucking had free speech riots. And people are going crazy about the mandates. They're going crazy about lockups.
Yeah, if y'all haven't seen those videos of those people, like, screaming in their high-rise apartments.
Dying because they're
no
starving to
food.
death. They are starving to
They're
death.
not allowed to leave their homes.
Yes. So that's a I'm getting really into this because I feel like that's a huge problem. And people are being taught that like Mao was good.
Right.
That like Lenin and Stalin were good. And that they helped us get through World War II.
That's what's happening in America.
Fucking
yeah. Our colleges are just socialism.
Girl, like just shut the fuck up.
Marxist.
Like they killed millions upon millions
of
upon millions upon millions of people. Almost 100 million people over history has just been taken by that ideology.
Communism.
And then they think, well, that's just not the ideal. In the ideal world, in my ideal version, we can get there. So that's one force that I could see coming in a fourth turning, is like Putin, who's already crazy and already dying.
It's pretty realistic, I feel like.
It is realistic. I think it's genuinely realistic. Or something going on with, I don't know. I think of China, but I think that would be like a few decades off. Because they're not doing, I don't know, dude. I need to look more into it.
Though. Like, they did that just to fucking, like...
Right. Shit.
I mean,
they fucking created that shit. I saw.
They leaked it. Like,
I saw the research and the labs of like the proteins that were copied. They copied a specific protein into this viral DNA, and it's crazy. So that's another thing. Like, China's doing their shit, but they're doing it covertly. I feel like more covertly than Putin.
Well, yeah, I mean, they like have already changed to Google Maps. They make Google Maps like not show,
including Thailand.
Yeah.
Thailand is China.
Yeah.
They have so much more. Like, if you were to go and Google Maps in China, it would show way more territory than they actually have.
Yeah, because they brainwash their citizens and shit.
Yep.
Well, and then TikTok. Like, TikTok is
different for people who live in China than for fucking us.
America.
It's so basically in TikTok in China, they fucking do good values.
Their algorithm
shows good values. It shows a nuclear family. It shows happy marriages. It shows like everything.
Science and technology. Kids who are doing cool projects,
but
and
then,
like doing smart things.
Yes.
And then
And then what do you see for Americans? Twerking.
People faking DID and Tourette's.
Oh my god.
People saying they have ADHD because
weakness.
Yeah, just weakness. Stupid fucking shit. Dumb Tide Pod challenge,
and
all this stuff,
and all of the fucking shit that TikTok it has access to on your phone.
Oh yeah, y'all need to delete
Watch
that
that
app.
Joe
I'm sorry.
Rogan episode, guys. It just came out recently.
I'll say this. I'll be the first one to say this. When all that stuff was coming out, when Trump was like, TikTok's dangerous, it's Chinese spyware, I was like, I don't fucking care. I'm like, everything's spyware. I don't care. I'm going to keep it on my phone. Well, I watched that Joe Rogan video that he did on his podcast, and he was talking about it. It has access to every app on your phone. Every single app.
Not just
TikTok.
like you click a button and it has access.
It has access.
Access.
It's got spyware. It fucking takes everything from your shit. It takes all your data. It takes your IP addresses. Like, delete that shit and do a factory reset on your phone.
And listen, man,
but
I loved TikTok. I was sad to see it go, but as soon as I saw that video, I was like, delete. Instagram it is.
Yep. Like, delete your account, deactivate that shit,
get it out,
uninstall it, delete it off your fucking phone. Unless you're okay with the Chinese.
Who knows? We don't know what the next fourth turning is going to look like, guys. No. We don't know if the Chinese putting out these apps, if they're going to fucking like fry our phone. We don't know what's going to happen. What if they can fry our phones? Like, I'm just thinking about that. Like,
it could be like a Black Mirror, like fucking social credit score.
They already have that. That already exists, by the way.
In China.
Yeah.
They have a social credit score.
I'm sorry. But listen, I'm not trying to like focus on China, but I'm just saying it's these communist places that are really threatening. They're very threatening, I feel like. Well, and Putin's doing crazy shit right now, dude.
Well, I just feel like we're going into a digital age. Like, they want a cashless society, and they want a social credit score, and they want to go into cryptocurrency. Like, they want a digital society, and that's dangerous. I mean,
transparency for thee, but not for me.
It's dangerous.
They want to have access
with a click of a button. They can completely destroy your life, take away all your assets and stuff. So, like,
yes,
that's a problem.
Another thing too, like Andrew Tate. Like, he literally, I saw an interview with him where he describes being banned in this age, and he was like, it's like my phone would not stop going off for about 5 minutes. Just banned, deleted, Uber, Insta, TikTok, everything. They cut you off.
That's bad.
If they don't fucking like you. That's another thing I would say. That's another fourth turning prediction that I would see. Is
like
that something happening with the internet? Like, we need a Bill of Rights for that. We need a constitution for the internet, because you can't just have this this idea that it's like, well, it's a private company that billions of people
It's
socially
global.
interact with. This is the public square, guys. Like, we used to go out. Can you believe it? We used to go out to a public square in a village and communicate with people. That's where all the markets were. We would
Right.
just go and talk shit and fucking get hit because it was real life. And
Yeah.
you were fucking more respectful. But with this shit, there's no, people are trying to be like, it's a private company. They can do what they want. To the president of the United States, that's where it's like, we need a Bill of Rights, because that Trump was talking to us. Like, he was literally trying to fucking tell us shit. It doesn't fucking matter what the fuck you think about what he's saying. If he can go out to a public square, to whatever, to a conference, to a space that you can rent out, he should be able, if he's got a presidential account, to fucking say whatever the fuck he should want to say.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big deal. The fight on speech. I think it's speech.
And regulation of information.
Yes.
Like, to have these unelected people, like these fucking motherfucking fact checkers.
Who are you?
We don't know. They're fucking, half of them are AI.
Shadow government, for all we know.
Half of them are AI, and the other half are human beings that we have no idea who they are.
Probably bought
That's
out.
dangerous. That's dangerous.
So dangerous.
Censorship is dangerous, especially in an age where we're becoming more digitalized.
Yes. You can think it's not. You can think censorship is a good thing.
I don't.
But
think.
guys, this slippery slope has been proved time and time again.
Unless we can actually agree on what things need to be censored, that i.e. illegal shit, pedophilia,
Actual hate speech.
actual hate speech.
Dangerous speech, yelling fire in a crowded theater.
That's it.
That's it.
Well, and I don't even think hate speech. I mean, what do you consider hate speech?
I don't know. Like,
You know,
can,
it's like
I
feel like that's a slippery slope too, because it's like, fuck. I want to be able to say fuck Biden.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I want to be able to have that freedom.
Well,
to
I want to be
express
able
myself.
to not call it a dingle bop.
Right.
What the fuck?
Like, why do we have to be careful about what we say about COVID online? Like,
That's another,
I hate
yeah.
the
it's
misinformation
Damping
shit.
up.
That's what woke us up in 2020. We woke up because of all the misinformation police bullshit. We're like,
And then, like, all of
why
these
are people getting banned?
all of these content creators getting strikes. Steven
Strikes
Crowder
for
getting
nothing.
strike after strike after strike after strike for doing nothing.
Listen, if you don't want to believe in that stuff, then don't fucking consume that content. It's not, you shouldn't put your trust in an entity to regulate that content for other people to decide whether or
For
not
your
they
leisure.
believe in it.
Like,
No, like,
grow
you
the
don't-
fuck up.
you
There are
don't-
people with differing opinions, and they're allowed to have those. And there are people who are racist, awful motherfuckers, and they deserve to say whatever racist, awful motherfucking thing.
don't
they're
entertain
saying.
their shit. They don't.
Walk
I wouldn't say
away.
they deserve. I would say they don't. Just don't fucking entertain their shit. Don't
Right.
elect them into office. We elected an actual racist motherfucker, Biden, into office. He created the crime bills that put hundreds of thousands of black people in prison.
Wasn't he also like advocating for segregation back in the day?
Yes,
Like
he
literally in his
was.
40s, he was advocating
So it's
for
like,
it.
be consistent.
Right.
About what you want, and that's what we all need to do. We need to come to a consensus. That's why I think with all this kid shit that's happening right
It's
now,
bringing us there.
I feel like it's getting people more united because they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Why is there a teacher in Canada that's
Bro.
wearing giant fake fucking breasts with his nipples poking out of his shirt, and he can't even get fired under Canada law? They can't even fucking fire him. They have to keep him on there.
I saw the perfect retaliation tweet, which was just like, I'm going to get a huge inflatable cock. And I'm going to walk around
Just wear
with it just showing right through my pants.
I mean, fuck, dude. That's insane.
Like
to
around
me.
kids.
That's
This was like
insane.
a woodworking
a
fucking
woodworking teacher
dude.
wearing a
who
wig
just
and
showed
giant
up.
fake titties.
What?
That's insane.
Like tits with the nipples showing.
That's insane. That is insane. And all the kids are uncomfortable with it, but the school will not fire them because of Canadian law.
See, that's where I'm like, burn the school down.
This is where I think
that's where you're getting to like, why aren't we burning the
this
school?
is why people are. This is a growing movement
Yeah.
because they're seeing this happen to kids, and they're like, "What in the fuck?" Like the children are the most innocent among us, the most easily impressionable, and we are influencing their generation with every step and everything we say.
Everything
we do.
And we're injecting them with every cancerous thought we possibly can right now. It's
bad.
actually unbelievable. Like the fact that like this fucking, I keep mentioning it, but that kid who's like 5 years old just being reaffirmed at a fucking gender thing. I'm like,
that he's a girl,
that
when
he's a
boy.
fucking
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So I think, oh my God, hard tangent, but that's like, this is all the shit that's leading up to this crisis, guys. This is all leading up to it.
So what is it going to be, man? And what are you going to play in this crisis? Like, what role are you going to be in? Mm-hmm. Because like, we're shaping the artists right now. The artist generation is the Gen Xers.
They are they're the people who are going to pick up the pieces.
Yeah. So we can either support them, or we can just advocate for things that are right. Like, just let people be free, leave them alone.
Let people do what you want.
Do what you fucking want.
Don't kill another person.
Don't kill another person. Don't sexually abuse people.
Don't steal. Don't do the basic things that are awful.
The basic fucking common sense things.
Well, how do you know they're awful? Do you need your God to tell you that 10 Commandments are awful?
No.
Shut up.
We'll talk about religion in some of these episodes. We have a lot to say with regards to faith and how...
Oh, I also think, let's talk about that in regards to a fourth turning. I think we've lost faith. We've lost faith. I think a lot of people, regardless of what you believe, have a God-shaped hole in your heart, and people are trying to fill it, myself included.
God can be whatever you believe in.
Whatever you believe, not like, and also that can apply to atheists. That can apply to agnostics. Like, what do those people fill with their purpose? They're still filling the hole. They're still filling the God-shaped hole in their heart. They're just filling it with something else. I think people don't have faith anymore. They don't have a moral compass. They don't have a moral code even. And yeah, you can be like, well, the 10 Commandments shouldn't give you a moral code. Okay, but it did a lot of good though, right?
I mean, the 10 Commandments were created to give people a moral code. Like,
to make society, us good.
That's literally what our society was based on. Sorry.
Like, Moses did not fuck that up.
But that's like, I mean, faith is really important. So I feel like that's another thing that we could experience is like a spiritual rebirth, because I feel like a lot of people have lost their faith. And I'm not just saying faith in a higher power, faith in God, or faith in whatever you believe in. I'm saying faith in humanity.
You know what we mean. Like, I feel like the people who are listening, you know what we mean.
Faith in humanity, faith in the world, faith in faith. Sorry, that sounds so silly, but it's true.
There used to be also something in being, there used to be a certain type of good trait in being a God-fearing individual, by the way. I will just say, the people who feel like they will get retribution at the end of their days, they think about their life a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a fact. That's just
they value
a fact.
That's all it is. It's about valuing human life. So it's like people on the left who advocate for quote unquote, bodily autonomy, human rights, all this stuff. They're not actually pushing for it because they advocate for the destruction of the people who disagree with that. Right. And then the people on the right advocate for, faith and tradition and good values. But then at the same time, ostracize the people who deviate from that. So it's like we have to come to a point where we meet in the middle and realize we're all human. We're all different. Yep. And that's fucking fine. And we don't have to make a big deal about it. And we just need to learn how to kind of coexist a little bit. Yeah. So
we're having these thoughts that are emerging right now because of the fourth turning.
Yeah.
I keep bringing it back to that, but seriously, that's why we're having these thoughts right now. Like we want it to change.
2020s are going to be a wild one. I mean, if you think back on the 1920s were crazy, and then bam, we had the Depression. So shit happens. Things are going to be kind of crazy. We're all in the ride together, y'all. And things are going to be okay. I have hope that we will come out of it. I have hope that we'll come out of it better than what we are. Yeah. And I think that it'll be good, because I choose to believe that good always perseveres over all this evil, all of this insanity. I truly believe that in my heart of hearts. that's part of the human experience.
You
is that
can't have
we
one
fight
without
good
the other.
versus evil.
You can't
Yeah.
have one without the other. And despite all of the bad and all of the bullshit and all of the fear mongering that we're seeing right now, if anything, that should tell you we are really coming up to a good uptick.
Yeah.
There is going to be order to the chaos.
Yep. And
There is
hopefully
going to be
good
the
order.
yin to the yang.
Yep. There's always going to be the calm after the storm, and then another storm will come later on.
There is no
That's
dark
just
without
life.
the light.
Yep.
So, with that being said, I'm really interested to see what you guys think is going to happen. I really actually want you guys to respond if you listen
Let
to this.
us know what you guys think will happen. Like,
Please.
what are your predictions? What do you think?
I'm really intrigued. I'm really interested to see, because I feel like all of us are thinking about it right now.
We're all thinking
We're all
about some
thinking
kind
about
of
it.
conflict.
Some
And I
kind of
know it's
crisis.
different for other people. I know some people might think a different way, and I would love to know. We would love to know what you guys think
Yep.
about all that. So leave us a comment. Send me a message on Instagram if you want. I know I'm always
Please.
checking my messages. Except if you're creepy. I'm just kidding. But send me a message, send us a comment, leave us a review if you want on your podcast platform that you listen to us on. We're on YouTube too, so just
Check
let
us out on
with
YouTube,
comments.
please. Also, check us out on YouTube, man. Please.
Yeah, we have. Well,
We're
eventually, we're eventually gonna release our faces. I know
Yep.
we just have the audio right now. We're just a little trepidatious to show our faces just yet. We want to get our little studio area set up.
Yeah.
So yeah, check us out on YouTube though. We have our audio. We'll show sources in some of our YouTube videos.
Yeah.
But yeah, let us know what you guys think is going to happen in the coming years and how old you are too. I'd love to know what your generation is.
True. Yes.
And-
Yes.
Because I'm sure Gen Xers think differently than
So true.
what
Yeah.
millennials
You don't
think,
even need
so.
to tell us how old you are. Just what generation you fall
Yeah,
into.
what generation you're in. So
Yeah.
let us know. We'd love to hear from you guys. And the next episode will be different from this, but we hope you enjoyed it.
Next episode's going to be nuts.
Yeah.
Abortion.
Yeah. So yeah, just don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, follow us on everything. We really appreciate all your support. It means a lot to us, and we're enjoying this podcast so far. And we will see you guys next week. All right? Peace out.